Welcome to the final installment of TEDxSFIT 2020 virtual series. Well, it is with your love and support that we have achieved all this. And it's really been fun to be with you. Well, today is also a very special day as we celebrate the ones who held our hand and taught us how to write alphabets. The ones who scolded us for misbehaving in class so that we could develop a good character, who doubled our homework for not studying, and at the same time, who smiled wider when we excelled in academics. Our teachers. Well, on this occasion of Teachers' Day, a big thank you to all the gifted souls out there who have given impeccable contribution in shaping us and who work every day to make sure that you and me have a bright future. Wishing you all a very, very happy Teachers' Day. Now that we're off to an amazing start already, and while this does seem like a bittersweet ending, we still can't fathom the fact that we won't be seeing you here again next week.
I know, right? I feel so too. Behind this whole event is not just a team, but a family. And the head of this event, our very own Prachi ma'am, she's always made sure that just like a family, we put aside all our differences and work in unison, exuberating love and happiness in all the events that we organize. Now, a thank you would definitely fall short to you, ma'am, because we adore your guidance and experience, and we hope that you run this family for many more years to come. We also want to thank our dear college, St. Francis Institute of Technology, and TEDx for always being that gateway to a whole space of ideas because ideas are always worth sharing.
Now, TEDx SFIT 2020 wouldn't have been possible without the support of our sponsors, with our presenting partner Yorkit, Learn Abroad, providing online consultation to students pursuing higher education and career services. Our gifting partner, The Soul Store, a brand that retails clothing and accessories online. Our knowledge partner, Shrek's Learning, providing premium courses online by professionals. Our associate partner, Shastra Ventures, provides mentoring and funding to startups. And we also have some goodies waiting for you. So be here till the end to find out. Okay, I think now we have our first poll for this evening. If you had to sum up your morning in a single word, what would that word be? Well, for me, can I say snooze? I mean, I can definitely be a morning person, but only if morning is around afternoon. What about you, Dels?
Okay, I am a good balance of cheerful and my brain is still loading. So that's me.
Okay, we have 38% cheerful people here.
Great, I have
Oh,
some more friends.
yes, for sure.
So now we've been through a lot together, 4 weeks worth of exposure to our minds from different people who shared their experiences, some inclusive, some exclusive, with all the highs and lows, with introspection and retrospection, and now it boils down to this very moment. We are coming in full circle here, and it is where it all starts. Our decisions are what define us and make our life ahead. To read between the lines and to clear out the gray matter. It takes one person to start something. And in this event, we hope we've given you enough material to go on and start something that you've always wanted to, or just refine your craft. There are no limits to the mind, but I'll leave this gray area for you to figure out.
Well, the schedule for today is that we have a whole show planned out ahead with two unbelievably great speakers, with a double dose of two musical performances and Q&A session right in the end, so you're in for a treat. Now, if at any point you have a question, feel free to drop them in the chat box to our moderator, Anushka Somavanshi. And remember, there are no wrong questions. And our lovely speakers will definitely answer all your questions right in the end. Also, to have the best virtual TEDx experience, please switch to speaker view by clicking on the button on the top right corner of the window. Kindly note, we are all here for a positive and enriching experience. And to not have any hindrances in this exchange, if anyone is detected to be sending any offensive, hateful, or spam messages, then they will immediately be removed from the session.
Okay, now before moving on to our first speaker, we have a very important question to ask. How secure are your devices? Okay, I take no chances, so I have a VPN. What about you, sir?
If only I could say I don't need no security, no one will mess with me, but I do have an antivirus.
That is so not you. Okay, great. I think our next speaker would be a better judge about security. Over to you, Chels.
Well, our first speaker for this evening, Mr. Deric Karunesudas, is a cybersecurity leader with 13 plus years of experience in driving profitable business for global clients. He has worked with companies like Deloitte, Wipro, RSA, and now with British Telecom as Director of Cybersecurity, serving the Southeast Asia region based in Singapore. And since he has worked in various geographies like APAC, US, Europe, and Middle East, he understands various cybersecurity economies and cultures. He spoke at the ISF World Congress Conference in Paris, November 2013, as the youngest delegate out of 850 plus participants from 120 plus countries on IoT security, and was part of a strategic initiative of Wipro CEO TK Kurian with 11 other leaders serving the Europe and US region. Deric has an entrepreneurial mindset and is a mentor, investor, and advisor to many early stage startups, including the latest from IIT Bombay, a startup called Sepal. He is also the official mentor to IIT Bombay eCell Eureka 2020, Asia's biggest B plan contest for startups. Well, he believes in the power of cloud, blockchain, and data driven disruption, and has a vision to create three global CEOs. His talk will revolve around the world of hackers and will explore the mysterious world of cybercrime, which is seldom understood. And hence, up next, we have Mr. Deric Karunesudas, who wants to share his ideas on, can we ever be one step ahead of the hackers?
Cybercrime industry is way bigger than the cybersecurity industry. Let me explain. Cybersecurity industry is a $180 billion industry, whereas the cybercrime industry is more than 6 trillion. This is equivalent to the GDP of Australia, Canada, Brazil and South Korea all put together, or the equivalent worth of Google, Amazon, Facebook and Apple. The one guarding the internet, the good guys, the white hats. On the other side, the bad guys, the black hats, the hackers. This shows that people are not assets. Only good people are assets. The world of hacker consists of people who write and sell exploits in the dark web for as less as $50. And all these transactions are also very anonymous because of Bitcoin. In fact, there's a very popular hacker joke. Where did the hackers go? I don't know. They ran somewhere. Every single day, 500,000 malware is written in the dark web. In fact, most of the dark web forums have become the Alibaba and Amazon of the cyber crime industry. To fight big wars, you need to have deep pockets. With all these statistics, you clearly know who's winning. But I feel intellectual capital will always trump financial capital. Let me explain. If you see the top three nations in terms of cyber attack traffic, that'll be United States, China, and Russia. The cyber investment by all these nations is enormous, but still they get hacked every single day. Not only nations, even corporations. See some of the top hacks. 2013 Yahoo attack, where 3 billion user accounts were compromised. 2016 Mirai IoT botnet attack, which was DDoS based. 2017 WannaCry ransomware attack. If you see all these attack patterns, you'll understand that defending all the time is not easy. There has to be a better strategy. Before we get into the solution zone, let's try to understand what this world of hackers look like. This is how they look like. Christopher Von Hassel, the world's youngest hacker, at the age of 5, he broke into Microsoft Xbox security. Ruben Paul, at the age of 9, he had his own cybersecurity firm. Well, I wonder if kids can do this. What about the experts? And two more stats. See the world average of hacker. It's 25 years old. And most patents awarded to people are below 26 years. Common denominator? Youth. A child grows through curiosity, and so does hacker. And curiosity is a never-ending game, be it finding the depth of ocean or reaching Mars. What starts off as a computer hobby turns into unethical hacking. And that's where the problem begins. Even if you see the world's most famous hacker, Kevin Mitnick, in his childhood days he was drawn by the world of magic. Again, common denominator, curiosity. I think there are only 3 reasons why hackers do what they do: money, fame, hacktivism. If you see some of the hacker lifestyle, swanky cars, multi-million mansion, who would want to give it up at a very young age? Some hacker groups hack into rival hacking groups and post their credentials in the dark web, gives them fame in their hacker community. For few, money is not a motivation, ideology is. These hacktivist group hack into government websites and post their credentials and messages all out in public. Or they give access to citizens to government censored websites. Anonymous is one of the hacktivist group known. I think the world needs a technology where even if a slight evil idea comes into anyone's mind, the keyboards should get logged and the screen should get blacked out. Well, sharing some startup ideas, you see. Well, now that we understand the cyber world, can we ever be one step ahead of this hacker's game? Well, there are no silver bullets, but definitely a solution approach. I propose a 3-pronged approach: software coders, government, schools, universities, and social awareness. Let's start with software programmers. Software coders are the heart of every application that is built today. Software coders build the code, but don't imagine how it can be misused. So the question is, can every code be trusted? Because even a bad code can function. Hence, I propose a campaign that should be run in MNCs, government institutions, schools. It says, secure everything you build. Coders need to write defect-free software. And this depends on the quality of professors. It depends on the quality of schooling system. And this vicious cycle needs to be fixed first. See, if you're an atheist, you need to know what is religion, right? So if you want to be a good hacker, you need to know how a bad hacker thinks. Because even a bad hacker thinks like a coder first. In a way, one can argue that the bad hackers keep you at check because that will help you get a good software code. I met Vitalik Buterin in May 2017 in India, who's the inventor of open source blockchain Ethereum, who brought in a concept of smart contracts. We had some deep conversation about the future of blockchain. He said, every new version of software that comes in disrupts the earlier version to bring a better product. This is how evolution will happen. Made me think, why not all the software coders open source their product in the world and tell everyone to break their code? This will bring in good coding practice, not just coding. See, softwares will become smarter, and the day they become self-learning, it will be very difficult to control them. So the focus should be on upskilling the resources. In cybersecurity alone, 4 million jobs are still vacant because of lack of quality resource. The second pillar, government, universities, schools. I think the real education happens once you leave universities and school. And the problem is when you leave schools and university and join the corporate world, you're bound by policy regulations and you end up doing only ethical penetration testing. On the other side, hackers are independent, free, and available as hackers for hire program in the dark web. Most of them also offer 24/7 support. Can you believe that? So the question is, why in schools ethical hacking is not taught? Schools should focus on difference between cyber legal and illegal. Schools should teach students critical thinking and logical reasoning. This will help them identify vulnerabilities when they reach the corporate world. Establishments should penalize as well as incentivize for effective measures. Three initiatives can be done. We need more of bug bounty programs and hackathons. This is the best economic incentive that can be offered. This can drive two purposes, okay? At least make sure the good ones don't join the bad hacker. And since the bug bounty programs are lucrative, at least it can entice the bad hackers to come on this side. Some of the bug bounty programs offer $1 million in reward. Programs like Tesla and Facebook bug bounty programs are quite popular. We need more of ethical hacking schools in the world. This is the best educational incentive that can be offered to students who want to take cybersecurity as an elective. Why not have something called as cyber credit rating in the world? Citizens can be rewarded for good cyber behavior in the internet. We need to also penalize for accountability's sake. And this can be done through regulations. See, jurisdiction of cyber attack is very difficult to find because hackers operating in multiple countries keep hopping in different regions. Laws can fix this. Successful laws like GDPR in the European Union has shown that regulations can be outcome driven. We need more of these regulations. We need more replications of models of Estonia and Israel. If you see models like Israel, they're far ahead in cybersecurity. Some of the initiatives like after school cyber program is superb. See, I've spent a lot of time in cybersecurity space in various continents, and I still see most of the critical government institutions using outdated softwares. There is an immediate need to modernize the infrastructure and also plan to de-risk the core business. 15 years back, I did a course on cryptography and network security under Professor Bernard Menezes. And those days we used to calculate the number of years it will take to crack algorithms like RSA, AES. 2 years back, I met Professor again. He was so happy to tell me that he and his team has cracked the AES algorithm. Such a proud moment for me. Made me think, quantum computing will disrupt encryption. And when it gets commercialized and it falls into the wrong hands, it will be very difficult to control the hacker's world. The question is, can we write better quantum encryption? The third pillar, social awareness. I think people need to understand that surveillance is the business model of the internet. This will help them accept the risk way before they go to the internet. Social media manipulation to influence buying behavior and influence election is well known. Case of Cambridge Analytica. Most of the mobile games and deepfake apps might have malware in it. So be very sure of what you download from the internet. See, cybersecurity is taken as a very complicated subject. So why not bring in gamification into the space to add a little bit of fun element so that awareness spreads in the masses. See, by 2030, 50 billion devices will be connected through IoT, Internet of Things. In fact, Internet of Things will be way bigger than the oil economy. And when the whole world gets connected, it will be very difficult to digitize trust. I met Bruce Shiner, the technology expert of cybersecurity. I met him in Paris in November 2013 for the ISF World Congress. I asked him, is IoT the real threat to the world? And mind you, this was way before the Mirai IoT attack. He told me when the world is connected through devices, two things will happen. The world will change both economically as well as socially. Made me think. Imagine this. You get up in the morning and your fridge tells you, transfer $500 if you want to unlock me. Or the car that you're driving is controlled by AI bot and accidents happen and someone dies. See, there will be elements of hacking in every part of your life in coming years. The only proactive strategy is to have a security mindset. Security should be in your DNA. This is the only way to deal with hackers. And hence I propose this cyber movement which propagates this idea of proactive security strategy. The benefits of this initiative is far utilitarian. Because imagine if you run this campaign in schools due to students, the parents get educated and hence mother. And we all know once women do better, economies do better. And forget about my mother clicking into certain email phishing links. Even corporate employees do it. So this problem is absolutely deep rooted. We need to tell everyone that, never trust, always verify. Do you really want to connect to any free public Wi-Fi? Think about it. I hope this three-pronged approach is debated and celebrated and discussed everywhere in the society. Because it's about debating and celebrating differences. Of all my experience in the cybersecurity world, I've realized that cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. Private-public partnership along with responsible institutions like ITU and ICANN all coming together can fight this evil. Else, they will keep controlling you for the rest of your life. See, today 60% of the world is in internet. When the remaining 40% comes in the internet and the world becomes completely digital, only a good hacker can save the world. See, you don't need to manufacture missiles if there are no wars. So if no wars are influenced, you don't need to sell the machinery. Because guns don't hurt people. People hurt people. Well, I think we all need to think like a hacker to be one step ahead of the game. We need to think counterintuitive. Only by thinking like a hacker, you can not only be a good programmer, but you can also have a good security mindset to change humanity. And thinking like a hacker is like playing chess. You have to anticipate the opponent's move way before. Because if you're predictable, you can be defeated. Lastly, we are debating quantum computing today. Tomorrow there will be some other technology which will disrupt quantum computing. So there is no winning this technological war. The only way to beat this is by having a strong security mindset. Because hackers hack people, not technology. Thank you.
Wow, okay. First of all, a virtual round of applause to Mr. Deric for that mind-opening talk. Now, some years ago, I had named my Wi-Fi to hack it if you can, and in 2 days it went to change on to challenge accepted. This was my mindset when it came to cybersecurity a few years ago. But as you mentioned, Christopher is a curious kid, and if not given the right guidance and information, he can become one of the biggest black hats to be seen. And curiosity should be nurtured at all levels. And as Mr. Deric mentioned, it is the institutions we entrust our kids that must have ethical hacking courses in some sort of shape or form. Holding intra and institutional hackathons provides a safe space for people to cultivate this art. The severity of this situation has increased multifold ever since we've come to know that whatever we put up on the net is not at all safe. And this just doesn't go for us commoners. I mean, we've seen the recent Twitter attacks as well. So, never trust and always verify should be a slogan. But I just hope your password is not just password. And with that, I thank Mr. Deric for joining us here. Now, coming up, we have here to mesmerize us again with their musical synchrony, one band that you just cannot get enough of, and honestly, I am a big fan of, the Voyagers.
Someone told me long ago, there's a calm before the storm. I know it's been coming for some time. When it's over, so they say, it'll rain a sunny day. I know, been that way for all my time. I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? हसीनों ने बुलाया, गले से भी लगाया, बहुत समझाया, यही ना समझा। हसीनों ने बुलाया, गले से भी लगाया, बहुत समझाया, यही ना समझा। बहुत बोला है बेचारा, न जाने किस पे आएगा। है अपना दिल तो आवारा, न जाने किस पे आएगा। मुन्ना बड़ा प्यारा, अम्मी का दुलारा। मुन्ना बड़ा प्यारा, अम्मी का दुलारा। अरे कोई कहे चांद, कोई आंख का तारा, अरे कोई कहे चांद, कोई आंख का तारा. Umbriamo de mama, ani au sangatuka. Umbriamo de mama, ani au sangatuka. Ani madori chapila lagim kel madinaka. Ani madori chapila lagim kel madinaka. Undir mama ailo, ani pade ponali flow. Undir mama ailo, ani pade ponali flow. Ani madori chapila teka enga sakailo. Ani madori chapila teka enga sakailo. Ya maya yo, 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 ya maya yo.
my God, I'm definitely running out of words. Guys, a huge round of applause for this beautiful performance. That was one memorable performance for sure. Thank you so much, Voyagers, for taking us on this musical journey and for setting this vibe for us. Well, now, before we move on to the last talk for today, we want to see your lovely faces for the last time. So please turn on your cameras if you can. And on a count of three, we'll all make this X symbolizing TEDx. Go ahead, I'll give you all a second or two. Yes, with the best smiles you'll have.
Exactly, we
And
can see a lot of people starting on their cameras. Let's
okay,
go.
are we set? Yes, one, two, and three. Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now we have a very interesting poll coming up. What book, which books do you all like to read? Well, for me, I'll tell you all. So there was this friend of mine who gifted me a book which I thought I would read, which I still think I will read, but that day has not come yet. So for now, I think textbooks, that's all. Delisia, you read a lot of books, right?
I am a sucker for mystery and science books.
Wow. Okay, all right. We have 39% mystery and 21% fiction. We have a lot of bookworms here. Wow.
And moving on, our next speaker is an apt mix of self-deprecating humor and Aligarh's untold stories. Mr. Ansab Amir, head curator and community manager for the Scribble Stories, India's largest storytelling platform. He refuses to be identified just as a mechanical engineering student and more of a poet and a speaker, but most of all, a storyteller. Despite weaving tales of fiction, he wants to become a journalist and write what needs to be written. His articles find places in The Wire, The Quint, The Telegraph, First Post, and The Citizen. He has represented India at the South Asian debating, and his works are in the process of publishing. He'd be a go-to person for historical tales, Urdu poetry, or just life advice in general. So if you have a story, he is your man. I call upon Mr. Ansab Amir.
Once upon a time, there was a story. It did not have a happy ending. I'm sorry, that was quite a sad start, I know. But it's true, isn't it? There have been so many stories with so many once upon a times that haven't had a happy ending. Not yet, at least. Like, you're watching one right in front of you. I've always been confused when somebody asks me, who are you? Or what do you do? Or if the inquiry is a little rude, they ask, what are you? I mean, what do you even reply to that? What do you, as a general question, would reply to that? I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a sales executive, I'm a dentist, I'm a manager, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a depressed and unemployed person. I'm really sorry for the correlation between the last two or three examples, but you get my gist, don't you? We've all been guilty of this. We've all been guilty of, reducing our enlightenment and our experiences and our lived life examples to a mere profession or a relation. But when I first spoke the first sentence of this talk, once upon a time, you did not care about who I was or what I did you? You expected something. Your shoulders relaxed a bit, your mind wandered, and you expected me to set a scene, weave a plot, reveal some characters. You expected me to tell a story, and you were quite nice about it. Because at the very crux of all of us, we are essentially all stories. We are all a story. But how exactly? Stories have been inherently linked to the human civilization. Human beings have always been attached to stories and we have always been telling them. Though, of course, they might not always be so well crafted and so thrilling. Neanderthal grunting, good fat dinner nice, in Neanderthal language, of course, would not make a New York Times bestseller. But he or she still told a story. We have always been telling stories to us and to each other since history itself. In fact, stories outdate history, and stories, in my personal opinion, are even more important than science or philosophy because at the end of the day, what is history or science or philosophy but just another story? History is a story that we remember, science is a story that we can verify, and philosophy is a story that makes us think. At the end of the day, essentially, we're all stories. But why exactly are stories so important? What makes stories the building block of our civilization, of our culture? It's very, very simple, really. It's because we connect to them, we feel them, we go away with them, we escape with them, we attach ourselves to them. Do you remember the exact details of the first time your mother sang you a lullaby? Do you remember the first time you read a poem or a story in your kindergarten? Do you remember the time spent in your grandmother's veranda reading a champak or a Amarchit Katha? If you're a teenager, do you remember the time spent on the internet reading new young adult novels? If you're elder than me, do you remember the time when you were a middle-aged person and you remembered the stories in your newspaper that made you wonder or that made you apprehensive about the situations in our country? If you're a senior citizen, if you're way older than me, do you remember the time when you were a kid and your stories were so much better than ours? There are good chances that you don't remember that. Not the exact details, of course, but you do remember the stories. You do remember the feelings you attach to them. You do remember the emotions that you associated with a particular word, with a particular phrase. And that is what stories are capable of. They are capable of making us relive any particular time. They're capable of making us relove any particular emotion again. If you craft a scene well enough, even the most stone-hearted of a person can fall in love with a fictional lover. If you set the scene with enough details, the most Gen Z or millennial person in 2020 can go back and solve crimes in a Victorian England. That is the power of stories, though. They can make you go to a whole new world, they can make you fall in love with a whole new place, but most importantly, they can help you explore emotions inside of you that you never even knew existed. A person in Philadelphia can go back and cry because a person in Palestine wrote a poem. You know, if you sit down and you just read stories, Nisha's absurdities of the entire universe would seem plain as day to you. And if you sit back and read stories again, Newton's simplification of the entire world would just be on the back of your head. That, my friend, is the power of stories. And we are here to discover that power. Now, I told you why we love stories. We love stories because they make us feel. We love stories because they let us explore ourselves. We love stories because they allow us to escape from this world that we live in. But the greatest reason why we love stories is because we love telling them. I mean, go back to all the stories that you thought were close to you, or you thought were warm, or you thought were inspiring, and find out, I think you would find out that they were all stories that told us what somebody else felt, or what somebody else achieved, or what somebody else endured. The underdog winning the championship, man walking on the moon, an innocent person from jail making a daring escape, a rags to riches billionaire, an under-talented guy giving a TED talk. These are all stories that are close to us as human beings because we are innately optimistic at heart. We want to believe that the best can happen, and we want to tell our own stories so that we know that we did our best. If I ask you right now, how did you fall in love? Would you tell me on the internet? Or would you share a little detail about how you sent a joke to somebody and they acted coyly about it, pretended that they didn't understand, but they sent the joke back, and the two of you started sharing a little laugh, a little inside joke of your own, and that led to a good time ahead? If you ask me right now, am I close to my grandfather? I can't tell you, yes, I am. Or I can tell you of the time that we spent together beside the fireplace at our ancestral home in the winters, and he taught me an Urdu couplet that I've memorized to this day. वो चांद है तो अक्स भी पानी में आएगा, किरदार खुद उभर कर कहानी में आएगा. Now, of course, all these stories prove that we as human beings love telling these stories because we want a vent, we want an escape, we want a place where we can put out our own emotions, our own fears, our own vulnerabilities, our own aspirations, our own dreams, and yet be perfectly sane about it, and yet feel perfectly safe about it. That is what stories provide us, a platform to be ourselves. Of course, human beings are infinitely complex. We are a very difficult, a very different accumulation of so many feelings, of so many emotions. But stories give us a way to sort that out, to simplify it a bit. And that is why I have always been fascinated with stories, so much so that it has made me who I am. But I didn't tell you who I am, right? I am a story. Like any other story, I have cliches. And you can blame the writer up there for all the lack of inspiration. But it's quite a story though. I did not have a very normal childhood, so as to say. Of course, how many Indian children have a normal childhood? But to keep me company, I had people who were way lesser normal than me. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were very proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. That's the first line of the book series that I started reading since I was 10 years old. I did not have many friends, but Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley kept me company all through those years. My family did not go out to a lot of vacations, but every summer I spent at either Hogwarts or Narnia or Camp Half-Blood, and every summer I grew up to be a kinder, a more confident, and a more developed person than I was a year before, only because I had stories to guide me. Of course, since I wanted to be a writer and I was born in an Indian household, I was asked to give the engineering entrance exams. Deep down, I knew it was wrong, and therefore deep down in my engineering books, I kept Dan Brown's classics to keep me company. In Dan Brown's The Inferno, there is a line borrowed from Dante's Divine Comedy. The darkest places in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality in times of moral crisis. When I, as a 16-year-old, read that, it hit me so much that I still carry that quote with me to this day. It has given me courage to face a mob of 400 armed people while I was defending a movement and the people in whom I believed very much. It has given me the courage to write about things that I thought were important to write about. Of course, right from the very beginning, right from my childhood, I have kept my pen company and my heart hopeful. I've written anywhere and everywhere that I could write, but the results were mixed. My readership included a couple of friends that sat with me at the Chai Ka Dhaba, that is the tea stalls. My mother, who was very generous to read my writings, even though she knew they were not very nice at the time being, and of course a couple of internet friends. This was back in class 11. By the time my college is about to be over, 3 or 4 years later, I have now written in 8 national and international media houses, and my readership every day reaches about 5 or 6 million. How does that happen? With the help of the scribbled stories. 2 teenage kids had an idea while they were scribbling on the back of their notebooks. Hey, others might also want to scribble on the back of their notebooks. Why not create something that would allow us to share our writings and allow them to share theirs? It would be a nice idea, they said. It would only be a small page though, they also said. How wrong they were on the second part. Amir and Mohit created a platform for people who believed in their writing and who wanted to put their word out. But Amir and Mohit did not stop because their mathematics mark sheet said otherwise. They believed in their own idea, they believed in their guts, and they created India's largest storytelling platform. Of course, when I was a school kid, to be part of something that huge impacted me a lot. It gave me the idea that my writings could also make a difference, that I could also change things just with my words, and that allowed me to become the best version of myself. Of course, I'm still enrolled in an engineering course, but think of that just as a filler chapter. I've become much more since my association with the scribble stories, since my association with writing and literature. I have become a writer at India's largest storytelling platform. I have a readership of 6 million people. I have participated at debates at the national and international level. I've represented India at South Asian debating. I am going to be an author soon, as soon as the publishing of my book is completed. But more than any of that, despite any of that, or including any of that, that does not describe who I am. At the core, at the crux of it all, I am a storyteller. I love stories because they enable me to belong in a world that is simply so diverse and so complicated that it would otherwise make us all strangers. I love telling stories, but more than that, I love reading stories. I love hearing stories. And there is one story that I am dying to hear, your story. Of course, I love stories and there are so many reasons for that. But if you ask me to tell you the particular reason, I won't be able to tell you. I can tell you that I love stories because they create an entire new world for me to escape into. I can tell you that I love stories because they allow me to feel emotions that I've never felt before. I can tell you that I love stories because they allow me to talk about things that other people won't talk about or that other people would not know about. But that just won't be the complete truth. Stories make us, stories allow us to create our own reality. If I am writing a story, I can be a queer superhero, or I can be a mafioso godfather based in Switzerland. If I am writing my story, I can be my complete self, without ever feeling vulnerable. I can tell how my caste made me feel suffocated in my classroom, or I could tell how my parents' divorce really made me feel as a tragic young child. I could tell how fictional my love poems for a classmate were, or I could simply tell how I was feeling in a particular day which was ordinary for all aspects other than the thoughts of my head. I could make a story come to life, only because stories gave me that. And stories have that power for anyone. I'm a very ordinary person. There is no particular reason why I would become a better writer than you. But a lot of people do not tell their stories. They do not tell their stories because they feel people won't read it. They do not tell their stories because they feel people would not find it artistic enough or creative enough or brilliant enough or popular enough. But that is just hogwash. Nobody has ever lived your life. Nobody has ever experienced your experiences. Nobody has ever found out the truths that you did. And therefore, nobody can tell your story. So if you find it in your heart to pick up a pen or to find a mic and to tell your truths, your experiences, your association with the world that we have here, you would find that your story won't be alone in the world, and neither would you. You would find a place to belong, and you would find the power to be the one in charge of your own story. At the beginning of this talk, I said that I am a story, which I am. But I also said that I did not have a happy ending, which of course I didn't. I'm just not ready to write my ending. There's so many chapters yet to read, there's so many emotions yet to feel, and there's so many ways in which I want to experience life itself before I write the final word of myself. And I've always lived by one motto, that I'll write my story or be one. If you're brave enough to tell your story to the world, to be vulnerable enough to put yourself out there and yet strong enough to create your own reality, I'm pretty sure that you will write your story or be one too. Thank you so much.
Wow, let's put our hands together for the eternal storyteller, Mr. Ansab Amir. You know, once upon a time, a person asked me, "Who are you?" And some days later, that same person served me a letter saying I was declined for the internship. Now, stories are a major part of our lives, and we convey so many experiences through them. It could be gossip, or some truth laid down politely, or an opinion told indirectly. Now, writing is beautiful in itself. But good writing can take you from the snowy mountains of Kashmir to the backwaters of Kanyakumari, all in the comfort of your beautiful home. And we are also glad that you have found your calling in literature. Many students, they know what they want, but can't partake in it. And now they are following something else. But rather, let's think of this field we have chosen as the training wheels on that bicycle when we first start learning. It's there for support, and now we can take those off and ride to what our heart desires. We hope you have many more positive twists and amendments to your story, and we really appreciate your presence here today.
Now, a drum sounds just by using your mouth and voice. Sign me in. Coming up next is SFIT's pro beatboxer. Give it up for Naman Shah.
You been running around, throwing that pud upon my plate. Cause you did that, pud, you fucked up the. Cause you did that, yeah. And know the best is come up, love you breakfast. You need taking back when you were mine. And now I'm all upon you, bro, what you expect? You coming over on me tonight? You just gonna attention. You don't want my heart. Godspeed. Insane. Like go. Are you ready to witness the power vibrations.
Guys, give it up for our pro beatboxer Naman Shah. Wow, that was a brilliant performance, and this is the kind of quality that we have here at SFIT. Thank you, Naman, for that rocking performance.
Okay, what an evening it has been, but certainly not complete without a Q&A session. So let's get right to business and get some questions solved. Over to you, Anushka.
Good evening, guys. I'm Anushka, and I'll be your moderator for today's Q&A session. I'm sure a lot of you must be desperately awaiting this moment because now you guys get to interact directly with our phenomenally talented speakers, Deric and Ansab. So, without further ado, let's get to these burning questions that you have for them. Ansab, shall we start with you?
Yes, Anushka, we shared.
All right.
And this time I got the name correct.
So, let's start with your first question. Would you say that the power of storytelling is undermined by a world that lays more emphasis on being realistic and practical?
No, I won't. In fact, that is all the more reason why the power of stories is as important as it is. Because, see, if the world was not as materialistic, if it was as fun as we wanted it to be, if it was as adventurous as we wanted it to be, if it was as easy or as escapist as we wanted it to be, we would not need stories then, you know. But since our world is realistic, since our world is tough, since our world is difficult, stories provide us an escape both in the way of us telling our stories and both in the way of us falling into somebody else's story. So the fact that our world is realistic, so as to say, or more pragmatic, is all the more reason that stories are so powerful.
I could not agree more. That's why the fantasy genre is my favorite. I always read those books. All right, Derek, are you ready for your question?
Absolutely, Anushka. Good.
That's great to hear. So, here's your first question. What are the basic precautions one should take from hackers or scammers?
Well, okay. Before I answer the question, I'm really excited, to be part of the SFID family. Thank you so much. It's like a virtual reunion. 15 years. It's been a long ride. And what better than coming back as a TEDx speaker? So thank you to everyone. And Also, really want to thank the college teachers and everyone, the entire ecosystem of SFIT, for giving me the right foundation, the right knowledge, the right value system. I'm what I'm today here because of the entire the foundation that SFID laid for me and everyone in my batch. I can proudly say that I'm an absolute product of St. Francis. Thank you so much, and happy Teachers Day to all professors and students and everyone, and to mothers especially because they teach you a lot. Right? To answer the question, precaution, to extend my talk, just can't stress on being more proactive It's like, imagine this, would you wait for a heart attack to realize how vulnerable you are, or would you regularly exercise? So it's like making something a habit. So let me give you an example. Uh, uh, so you might be connecting to free Wi-Fi in most of the places where you go, be it Starbucks or airport, and because it's free, people get excited and get connected. But if you're not paying for the product, you are the product, right? And they will monetize you, they will sell your data, and it will breach your privacy. So you need to be a very well aware of what you download from the internet. And also, if you want to be really proactive, everything boils down to changing passwords regularly, having complicated passwords. Just be sure of when you connect to your internet banking site or any other e-commerce website to make payments, uh, switch on to your two-factor authentication like an OTP. Yeah. uh, Make sure that's an added layer of security. Encrypt your files most of the time. When you even make that a habit, when you submit your assignments, password protected, give a complicated password, make it a habit. You know um, Also, you can also think of, imagine when you use your mobile, all the apps that you download, do you really disable some of the privacy setting? uh, you know Only when you use the app would you allow certain security setting to be enabled. Because imagine this, right? I mean, even if you disable uh, um, the 3G 4G connection, the data connection, even if you disable that, people can track your mobile, because there are many sensors in your mobile, like gyroscope, speedometer. If you're in the cab, if you're walking, if you're stationary, using base stations, people can track you. So be very, very cautious of what you write in the internet, how you leverage social media, uh, all the clicks that you do, all the likes that you do. It's not about deleting your data from WhatsApp, because even if you delete the messages and everything from your WhatsApp, it's always there in some of these server, right? So be very cautious of that. If you accept that risk, you are well guarded. Yeah. So that's how I'll put it.
Wow, I did not realize my security would be that much at risk. But thank you so much for sharing that with us. I hope everyone in the audience was writing that down because those tips are definitely going to come in handy. And now, Ansab, for your next question, we have what are the articles that get the most viewership?
What are the articles that get the most viewership? Okay, so I believe that like article is a very vague word. If you're talking about news reports, then of course news reports about people who are not usually reported about, or stories that are not easy to get, are stories that often get the most traffic. If you're talking about non-fiction articles, if you're talking about research, then articles that connect two very separate things into one singular phenomena, or articles that dig deep into certain reasons about why something is happening, are also really popular. For example, there is this article that it recently came out in Washington Post. It created a huge uproar. So it was about how Facebook was, protecting certain individuals of a certain political party. Since I want to live, I won't name them. But yeah. So my point being that it was a very well-researched article. It had good sources, and it dug up something that was not in the public domain available for us to read. So those kind of articles really have a huge reach. And other than that, if you're talking about human stories, then stories that simply talk about the very, nook and corner aspects of human civilization are also almost always popular. For example, I did an article about the importance of tea in my hometown. Okay, so I'm not sure if you know this, but in our hometown, it is said that if you don't drink tea, you are liable to be disbarred from any future property that your parents might give you. So from 1880 onwards, tea has been an integral part of our culture, and it has mostly passed down because of the various tea dhabas or the roadside tea stalls that occur around the way. That kind of story reached a lot of people because all the people of Aligarh could have a nostalgic ring to it, and the people who were not aware about it were able to read along with the various anecdotes about the city. So those are the kind of articles that would always find a read. Something that people do not get to read easily, something that is native to a particular place and is heartwarming, or something that is very deep, very difficult to find out and is brought out in the public domain.
Definitely. Human emotional stories always manage to strike a chord with the audience. And I hope everyone in the audience has drunk their evening tea or just get disinherited from your parents' property. So keep that in mind. And now for Derek, we have what is the basic infrastructure a consumer should invest into stay out of cryptographic attacks? Should I repeat the question? I think you're on mute, Derek.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
First of all, let me tell you, Ansab, I'm a big cutting chai fan. Uh, and especially the Adrak wali, I love that. I miss that here.
Derek, I'd love for you to visit my city. The best
Would
adrak chai available in the world.
really? Oh man, thank you for the invitation. I would happily take that. um, and by the way, I was talking to Darren, Joel, Bhavya, folks, and everybody, right? I used to love the Stephen Canteen, and it's a lot of memories back there in St. Francis. I used to just love the vada pav. I still, have a lot of memories of cutting chai. Anyways, coming back to the question. See, first of all, you need to understand that you don't protect the algorithm at all. You only protect the keys. Okay. The game plan is to defeat the attacker without fighting, right? How do you do that? Just be proactive in terms of monitoring. So what happens is you keep monitoring the keys, study the logs, the attack patterns, and know how the attacker is thinking. So over a period of time, you understand the mindset, and then you kind of uh, play the deception game so that you entice them to make some wrong moves, right? So if you're not proactive, like it's like keeping your doors open and not expecting someone to come in, right? And it's criminal to do that. So how do you do the cryptographic algorithm? How do you defend that? Cybersecurity is always in defense of depth. There are layers of protection that happens. There are infrastructure like public key infrastructure, PKI. I don't want to be that technical, but there used to be a perimeter boundary. Imagine your home boundary through which anyone can get in. In the corporate world, it's called the perimeter firewall. But today, due to mobile and everybody moving in and out, people working from Starbucks or anywhere, those boundaries have disappeared. So everything is in the cloud today. Which is an extension of data center. So it's very difficult to control the user's employees working from anywhere, right? So encryption works at the endpoint level. There are layers of defenses: endpoint, network, application, operations. At every layer, you have a lot of security controls that can come in. But my final word would be you can build the best of technology, but at the end of the day, it's a people's game. Yeah, you can see the latest attack like Twitter. You all know about it. It would be an insider attack. I don't want to comment on that. But people is the weakest link. That's why the focus should be on mindset. And one of the biggest attack in 2010 happened on Stuxnet. It was a nation-state attack, simply done with the help of a USB drive, brought on the entire power plant right down. Uh, Proactiveness always works. Just be alert.
I'm getting really paranoid after listening to your talk. After this talk is over, I'm definitely getting everything encrypted now. You can never be too safe.
Yeah, please do that. Please invest in, and also invest in, not do not download any pirated software.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll definitely keep that in mind. And now for Ansab, I completely agree with you when you say that we can't reduce ourselves to one word, whether it's our profession or relation. We're all stories. But even stories have titles, right? If you had to give your life story a book title, what would it be?
101 reasons why not to be an engineer.
Oh wow, I think we all can borrow that book title.
I I know there are a lot of people who relate to that, and none more so than me.
I think every 151 of the participants relate to that. All right. So, do you want to elaborate more on that? On the summary, the main characters?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that all 151 people would know absolutely everything about the index as well as the epilogue. But yeah, so I think I personally believe that engineering is a very cool profession. Okay. And it is a very cool profession for people who are cooler than us because we are not cool. We do not understand trigonometric equations. Okay. So the key point is since it's my story, I would have 101 reasons and perhaps more than that of why I could have done so much better by not being an engineer, not just with myself, but with other people as well. Okay. So my teachers would have such a nice time with a guy who's not constantly pestering them about, okay, so what does that equation do? And then the teacher looks at me and says that I taught that in the very first class. So, yeah. And then, of course, the very fact that if our education system was a bit better, if we were given a bit more of freedom as well as a bit more of knowledge about what we had to do afterwards, then a lot more people would have got outside the strictly cut boundaries of what they have to do. Doctor, engineer, salesman, failure, those are not the only four options around the world. So if I were to write a book, it would perhaps be about the fact that you can be so much more than just a title. Because, like, as the questioner, the person who asked it itself asked me, every story has a title, yes, but no amount of title can correctly describe everything. So I like to write, I like to read, I like to speak, I like to do journalism as well. One title cannot fit all of that. And even if I like to do engineering, just the title of engineer would not have fit that. So if I am telling that 101 reasons why not to be an engineer, I'm also telling you that there are 101 other things I am than an engineer. So I think that would be a good book.
Yeah, you've definitely struck a chord with the audience members here. I feel like everyone would definitely read that book if you ever decide to write it.
Cool. Okay, so pre-orders are open, guys.
And now for Ansab, what roadmap would you suggest for a fresher in the industry of cybersecurity with regards to various paradigms and certifications? Where do we start?
I am pretty sure that question is not for me.
I meant for Deric.
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but just to add to what Ansab said, or it's so true. I can echo that about engineering. I honestly never enjoyed it. I was a very bad engineer, last bencher. Look at me. What I'm doing today. I'm a 2005 EXTC pass out. Guys, for everyone who understand EXTC.
If I may just make a little interjection.
Please.
You say that you were not a great engineer. Like, man, you're talking about cybersecurity and stuff that I could not even understand half of. And I am pursuing engineering. What are you talking about?
That's the journey. You figure out something. You started with something, you end up doing something. So so to add to what you said, I mean, I think in India what happens is parents parents tell the kids, first do engineering or become a doctor, and then we'll figure out what to do in life. So I did electronics telecom, but I'm doing completely now 15 years in cybersecurity. No, hardly any relationship what I did. But what I would say is roadmap very difficult to know. Like I said, right? I mean, today what you're doing, you might end up doing something else in life, but because it's a journey, you'll figure it out. The only, if you ask me, what's the biggest fear I have, I would say I don't know what I don't know today. Yeah, and that's what I would say. Figure it out. Along the journey, you can have honest conversation with your parents as well. That you truly are probably not enjoying what you're doing today. Uh, uh, Talking about cybersecurity, let me come to the focus and say there's always a debate between, you want to be a generalist or a specialist, right? So if you truly love cybersecurity, I don't know how much you guys know the depth of it. It's again an ocean. So if I have to give you a career advice on security in 2-3 minutes, won't be justice to it. But there is, like any other field, you could be a generalist or a specialist, but I would always advise, be it any field, try to be good at one thing once, be a specialist in one known thing, and then you can become a generalist over a period of time. So let me give you an example. uh, Uber, right? When it became famous, it started from California, became famous, and then it went all over. Flipkart started selling books, and did it for a long time, and then became famous, and then started selling everything, then became generalist. There are many other examples. I would say Google was a search engine for more than 9-10 years. Then they figured out, and then they're all over. So be good at one thing. Fairly, I've kept my foundation as cybersecurity person, but I do many other things as well, because probably I'm known last 15 years as cybersecurity person, right? Specifically to answer on certifications, leverage some of the known certifications in cybersecurity space is CISSP, CISA, all these kind of certification is something you can leverage on today. Since everybody is at home, take advantage of. There's a question poll here. Should be you should take advantage of the time you have sitting at home. Do some hackathons if you like this space. There are many happening. Capture the flag, CTF competitions. Take part in it. Fail miserably, fail fast, and enjoy. And you'll come to know what is happening in the world. Participate. I would say that should be the starting point. And I've always been a big critic of the education system back then. Now I'm very happy because the new education policy, I'm so excited about it. It gives a lot of multidisciplinary, channels that has opened up. But I feel every alternate semester in each semester, there should be 4 internships in engineering colleges. That will fill the gap between industry and academia. You should have more of that. If the ecosystem not supporting you, write to people, use various other forums, write to people. If you don't ask, you don't get. Ask people that I want to do it. 1, 2, 3 months internship. There you'll figure it out after 20 domains in the world. You exactly now know that after you do that, 19 is of not your interest. Probably one thing I would love to do. Probably cybersecurity would not be your game to play. You can get into some other things. That would be my honest advice here, the folks.
That's really good life advice. If you ever start a mentorship program, please let me know. I'll be the first to sign up.
Please, always welcome.
And here's the next question for Ansab. Have you ever found writing as a good coping mechanism when you're plagued with negative emotions?
Like, if you're asking me, have I ever found it? Then yes, I perhaps found it. Like, it is my go-to coping mechanism. But I would not simplify it to say that writing will always be a coping mechanism. So there are some times when I'm feeling very sad, or in fact, not just sad. I feel that whenever you're feeling an extreme of emotions, it can be extreme sadness, it can be extreme anxiety, it can be extreme happiness. Writing will help you calm down. can utilize some of your emotions and put them out on paper. But just because it happens most of the time does not mean that it will help always. So this is something that a lot of people are, you know, they expect this kind of, or they assume it that okay, he's a writer, jab bhi depressed hota hai, he writes. That is not how it works. Okay, so when I'm writing, I sometimes tend to put my emotions out there. For example, when I'm writing about protests, or when I'm writing about something that really makes me angry, I write about it. But also I write to improve my skills as well. And at those times I want to be calm, I want to have my best thinking brain present with me. So writing can be a very good coping mechanism. It does not necessarily have to be, is what I'd say to that.
Right. I mean, it's definitely been a coping mechanism for me. All throughout middle school, the only reason I survived all those years is because I wrote a stack of diaries. And
Okay.
yeah,
that that's like I used to keep a journal, but I was a very lazy person, so I lost the journal and then never wrote in the journal again. End
oh,
of story.
okay. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time for more questions. So let's do one last question with Deric and wrap stuff up. So, Deric, do you have any last words of advice for your students? Well, our students of SFIT.
Well, I would say my advice would be do not take anybody's advice. Yeah, uh, it's generally uh, it's a journey, guys. Just figure it out. I mean, I would say if do multiple different uh, domains of work, get into stand-up comedy if possible. I tried doing that. Uh, you know, fail fast, fail big. Embarrass yourself. If you want to be really successful, I would say if you have stage fear, you know, go and stand in front of 100 people and tell a joke. Let there be zero laugh. Let people laugh at you. That's the starting point of your success. And I would say explore different domains. That's how you would come to a point where probably you'll figure it out, right? And if you reflect on your failure, that will be the real success. I would say start at that.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Derek. And thank you to everyone who wrote in questions for us. I'm so sorry if we could not answer all of them. Unfortunately, we have time restraints. And of course, thank you again to Ansab and Derek for answering all these questions with so much wit and intellect. And now, I'd like to hand over the virtual medium to the organizers of TEDxSFIT who made all of this possible. So, guys, give it up for Darren and Joel.
Hi, uh, hello everyone. So before I start, I would like to request all of you who haven't done so yet to please turn on your videos so that I don't end up talking to myself. I know people have started dropping out, but until now we have had such a great question and answer session and two great talks. So I will just take 10 minutes more and we won't take much more of your time. And I would love for you to know all of those who are behind this event. So I'd like to begin now. I'd like to begin with a quote by Napoleon Hill. Opportunity often comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. What does this tell us? When we got a license in May 2020, the pandemic was in full swing. The lockdown was there, and we actually did not know what to do. We had the license to organize an in-person event, but then we could not do that. So we took it as a challenge that we had to go virtual. And then after 4 months of meticulous planning and coordination, we finally kicked off TEDxSFIT virtual event series on the 15th of August 2020. Right now, it's the fourth day, it's the final day. And I would like to take this opportunity to render the vote of thanks to everyone who was with us on this journey. So first, I would like to thank TED for giving us the opportunity to organize this event virtually. We are especially lucky and blessed to partake in this mission and to help and they have helped give us a platform to ideas worth spreading globally and in a local community. Second, our TEDx event would not have been possible without our speakers. We have had an amazing speaker lineup consisting of Jinal Shah, Aman Jori, Anchal Narang, Deepa Panakal, Sizan Mohammed, Tejas Sham, Dr. Raj Shekhawat, MX Riyaz Sharma, and our speakers today, Deric Karunesudas and Ansab Amir. So I would also like to give a hearty thanks to Dr. Raj Shekhawat for hosting TEDxSFIT's first virtual event workshop. Thank you, Deepa ma'am, for also all your help as well in making sure that the application for the TEDx license was up to scratch. All of the speakers, I would like to say this to you. Thank you so much for allowing us to platform your talk. We are very grateful for the opportunity and we wish you all the best. Moving on, I would like to thank those who made this possible right here at home. I'd first like to begin by thanking the director of St. Francis Institute of Technology, Brother Jose Thurutil, and our principal, Dr. Cincy George, for support and for granting the permission to organize the TEDxSFIT event virtually. Our sponsors have been instrumental in making this event a reality. We give a million thanks to Yocket, our presenting partners, the Soul Store, who are our gifting partners, Shrex Learning, our knowledge partners, and Shastrat Ventures, who are our associate partners. TEDxSFIT 2020 would not have been possible without you guys, and we thank you for all of your support. Now, today's Teachers' Day, and one of the greatest values of mentors is the ability to see ahead what others cannot see and help them navigate a course to the destination. This bears testimony to Dr. Prachi Raut, who is the convener of ECEL SFIT, and she has been a pillar of support and a source of motivation. Be it our first time organizing a virtual event like this or taking up any new challenges, Prachi ma'am has always been there to see us through. And there isn't any better day to thank her than today on Teachers' Day. The TEDxSFIT team would also like to extend our warm wishes to all of the faculty and staff at St. Francis Institute of Technology, as well as to you both, Ansab and Deric, for teaching us. And yeah, moving on with a vote of thanks, I would also like to thank our hosts who have been anchoring the event so well over the past few weeks. A huge shout out to Joshua, Leander, Delicia, Mervin, Chelsea, and Anushka. You guys have done a great job making sure that we are on time and that the events go smoothly. We have had a curation team that has been working on the talk drafts. This was headed this year by our hosts who are actually present here today, Anushka Chomavanshi and Chelsea D'Souza, who have done a great job working on the application, on the speech drafts, and also being the point of contacts for the speakers. We would also like to thank the Pastures core committee for their guidance as well. This year, we have had some really wonderful performances by many talented individuals and bands from our community. These are the English choir, the Hindi choir, Radiance, Pacifiers, and our performances today, the Voyagers and the beatboxing performance by Naman. You guys are great. And I would also like to give a special mention to Cliff Machado. He has been doing such an amazing job all these 4 weeks, and he's been coordinating all of the pre-recordings and the performances, as well as mastering the audio for each performance. So great job, Cliff. Now, we have also had a video production team which edited all of the talks. We had Bhavya, Jason, and Monique working all through these weeks, tirelessly creating animations and illustrations to add a new dimension to each of them. I would like to give a special thanks to Bhavya as well for handling the back end all of these days and making sure that each slide is played on time. So I've spoken for long enough, and before you get tired listening to my voice, I'd like to pass it on to Joel.
Hey,
Joel OP in the chat.
Thank you, Ansab. Thank you, Darren. Your voice is great. You should try auditioning for Indian Idol in your downtime.
No, Joel, I'm pretty sure that would be a very bad idea.
Okay, buddy, whatever floats your boat. Now, this lockdown has compelled us to come up with new ideas to engage our local community. We had to find a way to keep the Josh high, and we decided to organize free events, short, fun events for our community in the downtime up to the main events. Now, our publicity team, headed by Ayush Mohite, has been doing a phenomenal job, and we have a record number of registrations and attendees throughout the virtual event series. I would also like to give a special thanks to Praveen Kurian sir and Lenin Bardeskar for being gracious enough to accept our invitation to judge Take the Bait, TEDxSFIT's first ever debating competition, and also Jaren Vargas, who was our host for TEDxSFIT's first ever improv battle. And also to you, wonderful participants and audience on Zoom and YouTube who made this pre event such a huge success. Thank you so much. I would now like to thank the graphics team headed by Abraham Thotiel and Karthik Munjal. Now, these guys were at it all night creating these wonderful interactive posts and creating new ideas for a feed design on Instagram and LinkedIn, which helped propagate the word far and wide and truly helped TEDxSFIT to go global this year. So kudos to you all guys. We have the web team with us, headed by Ashton Lopez. Now, these guys have been working really hard throughout the 4 weekends, making sure the website is up to date with all the details and also adding to the aesthetics. So, really good job, guys. And we have our marketing team, headed by Vritik Adani. And these guys have they've talked to a lot of sponsors, a lot of potential sponsors, and they've finally been able to get us in touch with our 4 very sponsors who helped propel TEDxSFIT to life by their funding and their support. So thank you so much for that. Now, in the pandemic, I know we are all separated because of the lockdown and all, but that has not stopped all these teams mentioned by Darren and myself from working together on this event. And we have grown closer as a team, especially with the team bonding exercises we have at the morning 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock every day on Zoom call, just to get the tempo up and just to keep the Josh high within our team too. And last but definitely not the least, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, our wonderful audience, spanning across the 4 weekends. You are the community that has inspired us so much. Your passion and interest in this mission of ideas worth spreading makes our effort all the more rewarding. Your feedback, which has been both positive and constructive, has been quite crucial in helping us better the event. And I would now like to sign off with a promise that we will be back next year, bigger and better. In the meantime, may the force be with you. Stay safe and God bless. I would now like to turn over the virtual stage to our lovely host, Chelsea and Delicia.
Well, I want to add just few more lines. A very big thank you to the organizer of TEDxSFIT, Darren Narona, and the co-organizer, Joel Jason, for being the strongest pillars of this entire event and for all the hard work and efforts that they both have put. This event surely wouldn't have been possible without you two. So thank you for writing this event in gold in the history of TEDxSFIT. Well, now we have a very interesting poll coming up, which is if you had to define the end of today, that is the end of TEDxSFIT, with a song, which one would it be? Well, for me, it would be I've had the time of my life. No, I've never felt like this before. What about you, Delicia?
Okay, right off the bat, it has to be we've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. Okay, now I'm not great at goodbyes, clearly, and I will miss this company of our amazing audience and speakers for making my very mundane evenings so much fun. Until next year, cheers to a happy ending and a happier you. Catch you on the flip side.